What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Today we are discussing the new Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage horror comedy by the name of Renfield. Now, I had the opportunity to see this in theaters just a couple days before it releases on Friday, and I got some hot takes that I'm going to share with you all about this film in today's spoiler-free review. But first, let's start the conversation in the comment section. Let me know if this is a film you all were excited to see, and of course, once you've seen it, let's talk about the things you liked or maybe loved about this film, or maybe some of your dislikes or things you hated about the movie in the comments below. And of course, if you all appreciated my review today, consider hitting that like button, sharing the review, as well as consider subscribing to the channel. So there was one thing that got me super excited about seeing this film, and that is, as a fan of Nicolas Cage, I couldn't wait to see him play Dracula, and I'm here to tell you all, he does not disappoint in the role. Seeing Nicolas Cage as the Prince of Darkness, he literally saved this movie for me. He's definitely overacting in the best way possible, and he's asked upon to bring some comedic moments to this character, but he still manages to be frightening and menacing at the same time. He's campy, he's overacting, but he 100% understood the assignment. So I just had so much fun with Nicolas Cage in this role. He's easily the best part of this film, which, on that note of performances, you have Ben Schwartz in this movie, who I'm a fan of. He plays a character by the name of Teddy Lobo, and his mother lead this mafia group. And if I'm being honest with you all, Teddy was one of the few characters to me that managed to match the over-the-topness and the craziness of Nicolas Cage. Like, I really enjoyed the Teddy character, and now, honestly, I wish that Teddy and Dracula had more screen time together, and if I'm being honest, I wish Dracula was in the film a little bit more, in my personal opinion. But again, I enjoyed Teddy, and if you ever seen Parks and Recreation, he's giving you similar vibes to the character he played in that show in this film, so I had a good time with him. And pivoting over to the lead of this film, played by Nicholas Hoult, who plays the Renfield character, I like Nicholas Hoult, and I thought that him as Renfield, he was fine. Now, when I say fine, I'm more so referring to, I didn't think the way that the film wrote the character was that great, but I thought that Nicholas Hoult gave me more in the role than what he was given on the page. Now, he's giving me similar vibes to, if you ever seen the two films that he made in the past, such as the character R from Warm Bodies, or the character he played in Mad Max Fury Road, where you can look at him as a villain at points, the way he's able to lure people into feeding Dracula, but as the film goes on, you develop his side of the story, and you see him being set up as the hero of the story. And his character does bring more of the needed groundedness to the film, as when the film focuses on the toxic relationship between Renfield and Dracula, and as we're watching Renfield finding himself, redefining his identity, and facing his abuser, that to me, again, the script wasn't that great, but when Nicholas Hoult was asked upon to bring those more groundedness, that more drama, him as the actor brought me more in the role than what the script gave him. So again, character, okay, but Nicholas Hoult did the best that he could in the role, which kind of last points I want to mention. This I did not expect. I love the over-the-top goriness that we see in this film. Like, I really appreciate the action beats that we have here, and I'm telling y'all, when the film gets gory, it is extremely, number one, unrealistic, but I enjoyed it so much. I'm talking about heads being ripped off, guts exploding. There's a point in this film when someone's arms get ripped off and are used as weapons. I loved it, y'all. I'm telling you, as the film goes on, it gets bloodier and bloodier, especially when we get to this apartment raid scene, and the final act is just full of blood. So that aspect alone, so much fun. I wish the film would have had more of those moments. But getting to my last point, speaking of moments, I appreciated the runtime, which was 1 hour and 30 minutes. And the reason I bring that up, and that transitions into my criticisms here, I was not a fan of this film. So I was so glad that it went by so quickly. Now, get into the nitty gritty here. I didn't like this movie for the most part. That's mainly because I found the story and the narrative and the comedy just didn't work for me. Starting off with the story first, the film has all these unnecessary subplots involving Awkwafina's character, who I'm a fan of Awkwafina as an actress. If you all have ever seen the movie The Farewell, she's really great in that, but in this movie, I did not like her acting at all, especially her character. She is a police officer, and the whole story with her sister, who's an FBI agent, and their dad, which was so underdeveloped, tying that into the involvement with the mafia, Ben Schwartz's character and his mother, and everything revolving around that plot was just extremely bland and just so uninteresting to me. They tried so hard to make the mafia group look so scary and in control. They're controlling the city. All that stuff to me was just laughable in the worst worst way possible. Now, switching over to the production side of this film. Now, I know a lot of you all probably won't care or even notice this, but to me, the editing was just so jarring and so distracting and so inconsistent within the scenes. On top of that, I thought there was some really bad sound mixing in this film. Like, especially, there's points in this movie where Nicolas Cage is kind of doing like a Bane accent when you can't hear him sometimes, but also I blame that on the terrible sound mixing at points in this film. And getting into, I love practical effects, and the film has some good amount of practical effects, but at the same time, they then threw in this CGI moments, especially when it came to the blood splattering all over the place. Like, why are they using CGI blood? And again, the mixture of the CGI and the practicality to me didn't mix well. It felt like at times I was watching a straight to Sci-Fi Channel TV movie, which, going back to mixing, I mentioned how this is a horror comedy and why I enjoyed the horrific killing scenes. And I know comedy's subjective, I did not find this film to be funny at all. Now, I'm not going to lie, there were points in when I chuckled at moments, especially when it came to more of the dry humor. And to be fair, when I had my screening, there was a mixture of critics like myself as well as just the general audience. And the general audience, for the most part, was having a good time. Like, dude, I wish I was having what they were having because they were just laughing and just enjoying all the comedy. But for me, a lot of the jokes, again, very subjective, but a lot of jokes just fell flat for me. Again, I appreciate the dry humor, but when they were intentionally trying to be funny, I just didn't find it to be that funny. But pivoting over to the writing of the film, now this story comes from Robert Kirkman, who a lot of you all might know for being the co-creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible, and we have a screenplay by Ryan Ridley. I found this story to be so flat and boring, and I wish they would have focused more on the depth of the relationship between Renfield and Dracula. We could have simply went through all the years they've been working together, or I should say him being his familiar and being his servant, but instead they decided to focus on corrupt cops and the mafia angle, which again was the worst part of this film. Now, I like the director of this film, who's Chris McKay, especially his Lego Batman film, but his two live action movies, this and also if you guys have seen Amazon Studios' The Tomorrow World, I think tonally he doesn't really handle tone well. Especially looking at this movie, I felt it to be so off balance, having Renfield's story being so grounded and then mixing in the supernatural over the top comedy to me was a bad mix. Now again, I appreciate this film being an hour and 30 minutes, but whenever Nicolas Cage wasn't on screen and we cut to those subplots, that's to me when the film slowed down tremendously. Ultimately, this movie to me lacked depth in the story and next to no character development besides the interesting dynamic between Renfield and Nicolas Cage. I really wish they would have explored more of the vampire mythology, and it's just the story to me was just so lacking. So before I give you all my score and my overall thoughts, if you stuck around to this point in the review, I appreciate you. Just a reminder to hit that like button, share the review, as well as leaving your comments below. Overall, Cage was great as Dracula and lived up to my expectations. Like I said, Nicholas Hoult was fine, the action was entertaining, the gore was so unexpected, and I had the most fun when it got to those points, but ultimately the story was dull, the jokes to me were not funny, and it doesn't have a lasting effect and pretty much forgettable as soon as I walked out of the film. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give, hot take, Renfield a 2 out of 5 for me. Now again, based on my experience with the audience, I'm probably going to be in the minority in this, and as far as having a lot of criticism and not ultimately being a fan of this film, but I'm okay with that. That's why I'm here, to have these conversations. So let me know once you see Renfield. Are you more on my side? Did you not have a good time with this film? Or did you love it? And it's one of your favorite films that you've seen so far this year. Wherever that is, let's talk about it in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching today's review. Again, just a friendly reminder to hit that like button, share, comment your thoughts in the comments section, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you had a good time. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other reviews that I've done so far for this year. Check out my most recent breakdown, and we'll catch you all on the next video.